Yes, I love the nuance of this comment. Patriarchy loves sons in as much as it values what they can offer in the future, but actually often cosigns the abuse and neglect of boys when they're young. How many men aren't actually taught how to care for their bodies or even wash them? Why is it a ubiquitous experience for women to meet adult men who can't wash their own ass? Not teaching your boys how to care for themselves is a neglect. Growing up, I watched families, particularly the most patriarchal families, who would love on and cuddle and snuggle and comfort when they were crying their daughters. But when their sons were hurt, or when their sons wanted love and affection, they couldn't have it. Even very young sons, because they're toughing them up. They've got to be a man someday. This is neglect, and even a form of abuse. I can't tell you how much I witnessed growing up. Families who required their daughters to participate in the full workload and responsibility of their household. They required their daughters to be able to anticipate needs, understand how to cook and clean, encourage their daughters to be an active participant in the community of the household, and did not require this of their boys. That is neglect. Cooking and cleaning are life skills, not gendered skills. People only love and care for others to the extent that they know how to love and care for themselves. And when young boys are neglected in this way, they just move into adulthood loving and caring for others poorly because they don't actually know how to love or care for themselves well. This is neglect. When my children were young, we were so broke that we lived with roommates. And when my son was 2 years old, one of our roommates, I would find him often scaring my son. This roommate was a man in his 30s who was 6 foot 7 inches tall. And to my 2-year-old son, he would often pop out and scare him. I had 2 daughters at the time, and he never did this to my girls. My poor son would come out to me crying out of nowhere. And I couldn't even get him to tell me what had happened because he didn't even speak a language at the time. He didn't have words. It took me a while to realize that my roommate was doing this because it didn't even occur to me that an adult would be so mean to a child. As my roommate was going on, he said, "Well, I'm just joking. Plus, he's got to learn to take a joke, and someday he's going to be a man. He's got to toughen up. Can't cry about everything." I had to explain to a full-grown ass man that the only thing he was doing in treating my son that way is letting my son know that the adults closest to him, adults in his life that he should feel the safest around, he is not safe around. That the adults that he should be able to trust are untrustworthy. He does not get the same safety and level of care as the girls do. This man eventually apologized profusely and realized that he had been raised as the youngest of 3 boys in a military household, had gone into the military himself, and had at every point in his life been hazed or abused in the name of making him into a man. And he just thought that's how he should treat boys and men. Men who experience developmentally appropriate love, care, guidance, and connection at the critical levels of development in their life don't grow up to be men who are jealous of their babies. Don't grow up to be men who get mad at their wives for paying attention to the kids. When you grow up in an environment where your safety and your humanity aren't considered, when it isn't about you at that critical stage of development, you grow up to be an adult that makes everything about you. And patriarchy cosigns on this. I am relieved and so hopeful that currently, now, as a parent, the entire time I've been a mom for 17 years, I have never witnessed a parent that treats their children this way. There is not heavily gendered parenting going on. There is children who are human beings who deserve love, care, consideration, comfort, regardless of their gender. Boys, girls, queer kids can thrive. They're being taught life skills. They're being taught love and belonging, regardless of what their genitals are, which was a crazy thing to begin with.